Cypress School of Holism and Blue Cypress Botanicals, and here is the bitter melon behind me, and I wanted to go ahead and harvest some. I've never worked with bitter melon before, but I figured that we could just do it together and see. I don't really even know when to harvest it, but we're gonna go ahead and harvest one now, one of the bigger ones, and see how bitter it is. So beautiful. See, this one is starting to turn from white to kind of a yellow color, and these are actually called pearl something, and so I think they're supposed to stay white, and this one in here turned really yellow. So I think I'm gonna harvest both of these. This one feels like it's ripe. This one is still hard, but it's starting to turn colors. Whereas, see, even this one is kind of got a little bit of orange in there. But these guys up here are really white. So maybe when they start turning a bit orange, that's a sign of their ripening. I'm not sure. But I'm gonna harvest this one. Let's see if it comes off easily. Well, easy enough. Oh, so I've got these two. And I'm gonna take them inside and cut them open and see what's going on inside. So let's go do that. All right, good morning. It's actually a new day, and yesterday was Father's Day, so after I made that quick little intro to the bitter melon video, I ended up being really busy. So I just took the bitter melons and put them on the counter in the kitchen. And then this morning when I was headed out to the garden, I decided to just bring them into the garden and cut them open. And this one feels like it's like kind of like a soft peach, like when a peach is ripe and it's ready to eat. That's really kind of the feeling of this. It doesn't have much of a smell, but it's definitely softer than this one. This one is soft, but it's not as soft. This is the squeeze test. All right, so I have two different ways that I want to cut these open, and I know they have like a pulp and seeds inside, and I've been doing some research because I've never grown these or eaten these before. I harvested one the other day too early just to try it, and it was super bitter, but I don't know if they're less bitter as they become more ripe or if they're more bitter. But my research says that they become more bitter the longer they stay on the vine. So if you can get them small, then they're less bitter. But the thing about bitters, the bitter taste as far as like digestion goes, is that you can't just take like a bitter pill and expect it to activate your digestive juices. You have to actually taste that bitter taste on the palate. So you have to activate the bitter taste buds on the tongue. And that's one of the reasons why there's that saying that digestion begins in the mouth. So when your tongue, I don't know if y'all can hear the water pump over here, there's the rainwater pump just cut on, and there's a lot of commotion out here. But when the bitter taste buds are activated, then they signal the digestion to start producing the digestive juices. So that's why it's important to eat bitters before a meal or even after a meal to activate your digestive juices to digest your food more readily. So there's two different ways that I want to cut these guys open. I'm thinking I'm gonna just slice this one and open it up so we can look and see what's inside. And then this one I'm gonna slice into rings and see how that goes. So I'm gonna set this one aside for now. I hope y'all can hear me okay, because it's quite a bit of commotion. I'm just gonna cut this stem off, just throw it into this garden bed. All right, I brought my little cutting board out here. This is my impromptu garden culinary prep. Ooh, wow, how pretty. Look, the seeds are red. I guess I should have brought a spoon out here too, but I'll just use my knife. So I'm gonna cut this It's like pithy kind of center that you're supposed to remove, and that's where the seeds are. So I'm gonna set the seeds aside. Oh, they're kind of soft. I'm gonna eat one of the seeds. I'm gonna eat some of this raw. My research also says that you can eat bitter melon raw, but it's less bitter if it's cooked, and I like bitter, so I think it'll be okay. Just gonna remove this pith. There's not much to it. There's more on the other half. It's a pretty butterfly. It's one of those Gulf fritillary butterflies from the passion vine. You know how the orange, I think I mentioned in that last video that the orange caterpillars come back as these beautiful orange butterflies, and they always return to the passion vine where they were born. So that's really interesting and beautiful to see. All right, that's pretty much enough. If I had a spoon out here, I'd be able to really scoop this out a little bit cleaner, but I think that's okay. And these seeds are really pretty. I was hoping the seeds would be red because I thought maybe it's as the bitter melon turns orange, the seeds ripen into this reddish color. But it seems like maybe it's like the casing is red, because if I look inside, the seed itself is like brown. I'm gonna set that aside. Maybe I'll just, that's the only one that had a mature seed in there, so maybe this wasn't all the way as ripe as it could have been. So I don't really know the best time to harvest these yet. But, you know, the more I try them at different stages, the better understanding I'll get. I'm just hearing some critters. I'm trying to look around. Yesterday I saw a squirrel come running out of the garden with something in its mouth. And it was something small and green, and I think something in the garden spooked it, maybe one of the cats, and it came running out of the garden and it dropped whatever it had in its mouth. And I came out looking for it, but I couldn't find it. But I think something small and green, I think it was a fig, which makes me want to do something about that. I don't know, maybe I could put some streamers up, or you know how people used to put old CDs, they would hang them from the garden so the squirrels don't like that reflective nature of things that spooks them. And also tulle. I do have a big roll of tulle because a few years ago I was covering basically all my fruit with tulle because the squirrels kept eating my blackberries and everything. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna taste this one. Just gonna cut off a piece. That looks like a good, looks like gummy candy or something. Whew. Definitely bitter. But not like excruciatingly bitter. You know, some bitter is just like, ugh. But it does remind me of, kind of reminds me of the aftertaste in the back. Tastes like agarita. I have an agarita tincture that's made from the root of Mahonia trifoliolata, which grows wild out here, and it's a really good digestive, like liver tonic. And the back end of this tastes like that. But I could definitely come out here and pick a bitter melon and just eat it. If it's this color, it's not bad at all. Maybe a little bit of salt, it'd be really good. But I'm also gonna cook these. I'm gonna try them both raw, and then I'm gonna cook them like sauteed with some onions or something, salt and pepper, and see if they could be like a nice side dish, or I've read even that they're a good addition to soups. And in the GAPS dietary protocol, we eat a lot of soup. So anything that I can add to the soup, in addition to like squash and I guess really squash, carrots, onions, beets, that kind of stuff. If I could add bitter melon, that would be great. And bitter melon, actually, I was looking at the recommended foods list in the GAPS protocol, and bitter melon is like not GAPS friendly. So there's that too, but I'm just going to monitor myself and see if I can handle it. I think maybe one of the reasons is that if someone's digestive system is very, very compromised, like if they have Crohn's disease or irritable bowel syndrome or something like that, then maybe this is too strong of a digestive. But I've been doing the GAPS protocol for years now, and my gut is really strong, so I can tolerate a lot of foods, and I think that I'll be just fine with this bitter melon. So if you are also on the GAPS protocol, bitter melon is not on that dietary protocol. But again, you could test it out and see how it works with your body and see if your digestion can handle it. All right. There's a fly. I have some coffee over here. Fly drinking my coffee. Rude. All right. So this one I wanted to cut into rings because in the Baker Creek catalog, that's how it was cut, and I thought it was really pretty. So I'm gonna move these seeds back here. I do really love that there's a different color inside of that one. Let's see if these seeds are gonna be red. So that's what we're getting so far. They do look kind of colored. Ooh. Oh, I cut one of those seeds. I guess this is not the best way to cut your bitter melon if you want to save the seeds, you know? So I probably won't cut any more of them like this because I do want to set the seeds aside because it's such a beautiful plant to grow in the garden. And that's the beauty of growing. Let me get this little seed out. The beauty of growing your own vegetables and fruits and stuff is that you get their seeds and then you can grow them again. So I've definitely become more of a seed saver and a seed sharer than I was when I first started gardening. Oh, see, look, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seeds. And they are in that red casing again. Oh, and see, it's really easy. This way seems easier to get that pithy part out. Look how pretty. It's like great for kids. I love the way, look at how it looks on the edges. And I bet, you know, like if you wanted to saute this and drop an egg in the middle, that would be delicious because this ring would hold the egg. Maybe I'll do that with these ones. I'm gonna put these in my little basket so they're not just sitting out getting eaten by roly-polies. All right, so this has a little bit of pith. I think I've just created a new dish. Bitter melon with an egg in the middle. So for all you chefs out there, if y'all use my recipe, you have to give me credit. Okay. That's really so beautiful. I love the way that looks. All right. Oh, there's another seed. And the seeds are not that big, you know? Can you see that? I don't know, it's like the same color as my hand. All right. I'm really like excited about this. I'm always excited for new things to eat from the garden because I get kind of set in my ways, and when I know that I can grow something, I'll grow it, you know? Like, I mean, well, okra grows really well here, but I'm not a big okra fan. My maternal grandmother was Geechee. She's from Louisiana, Creole, like French Creole. Beautiful black woman with freckles and red hair. And she's like one of the most interesting people, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. And when we would go visit her as a child, she would make stewed okra and tomatoes, real spicy, like Louisiana style. And even as a kid, I would really eat it. You know, it was just like, even though it was very spicy for me, I was really little, you know. But her and my grandfather had a huge garden. I remember going into their garden as a little girl and just walking down the aisles and everything just towering over me, like green beans and peppers and tomatoes and just what felt like a huge, massive garden to me, especially as a little girl growing up in Virginia. They were living in San Antonio. And so when we would visit them, it was like a whole new world. You know, it was hot. I would get into fire ants. I remember one time I got into fire ants in the garden. They rushed me inside. I had to take an ice bath. Like, they were all over me. It was like this whole ordeal, like a huge childhood memory of mine. But my grandparents, you know, I wish that they had been alive a bit longer as a child, to where I could really have learned a lot more from them. But I do remember that stewed okra and tomatoes. But I don't grow okra because I'm not that huge of a fan. But whenever I do grow okra, I think of my grandmother. So not everything that grows well here will I grow, but I'm trying to get more in the habit of growing what grows really, really well here, and also eating it, because that's the challenge. Like, if I grow a massive amount of okra, the challenge for me is eating all of it. So maybe I will plant some okra in honor of my grandmother, plant the okra over by the roses. So one for my mother and one for her mother. So now that I've said it, you know, it's happening. All right, that one's pretty too. Look at that side. All right, so let me taste one of these. I'll taste one of the smaller rings because I really want to, let me see which one is not like suitable for an egg. I'll do this one, this little end piece. So I really want to save those rings and drop an egg in them. My daughter's been eating a lot of eggs. Oh my goodness, we had a rat snake in the chicken, well, not the chicken coop. It was in the goat manger where the chickens have been laying their eggs lately. And he was in there eating all of our chicken eggs. So I was like, what the heck? Like, we should have more eggs than what we have. We've had a snake that was eating the eggs. So that snake is no longer with us. This one smells, it has more of like an unripe smell, more kind of like an astringent smell, if that's a thing. I'd say the bitterness tastes about the same to me between the two. But it tastes like a raw vegetable with bitter on the back end. But totally edible. And I think that once they soften up and have a little bit of seasoning, then they'll be really, really good. And it might curb some of that bitter, but I do like the bitter. I like to know that I'm activating my digestion, especially first thing in the morning. Really like getting things moving. That feels good to me. And I like to be able to incorporate more homegrown bitter foods into my diet, because there's not much in the garden that is just throwing these seed casings into this garden bed with these tomatoes. There's not much in the garden that actually carries that bitter flavor. Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah, no. I can't think of really anything right off the bat. Just pulling these seeds out. So these seeds are fully developed, so these guys are ripe. And I'm so excited to have more of these seeds that I can share with friends and that I can grow in the garden next year. Because right now, the one bitter melon vine that I have is plenty. You know, it has so many bitter melons on it, and they're still producing and it's still growing. I'm gonna taste some of this red stuff. That's really good. The red stuff in the middle, not the outer casing, but there's like these little red balls. That's good. It's kind of sweet. We'll see what my 14-year-old says. He's like a culinary genius already. I can't wait to see what he does out there in the world once he's out on his own. But I'll see what he thinks, because that tastes like, if we gathered enough of that like red jelly, we could probably do something really nice, like a sauce on the side or something. So I'll ask him. I'm sure he has ideas. But I do like getting that red color, so I think I'll probably wait for the other ones. I'll wait until they start turning orange. Oops, I accidentally threw a seed in there. We'll see what happens. We'll have another bitter melon growing over here with the tomatoes. This is how it happens. Next thing you know, just bitter melon everywhere. All right, here's the last little seed. So let's see. Out of those 2 melons, we got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23 seeds. Okay, and put those little seeds in one of these bitter melon bowls so I don't lose them. All right, so I'm gonna go inside and, well, I'm gonna go to the chicken coop and I'm gonna get some eggs. So that might take a little while depending on how many eggs are in there. Then, because my daughter's been eating all the eggs every day, like hard boiling them, which is great. So I don't even say anything because it's really good for her. So I just let her do it. But when we have some new eggs, I'm gonna go in there and grab those, and then we'll actually go into the kitchen. And so probably the next clip of this video will be me in the kitchen sauteing these with some herbs and salt and pepper and dropping an egg in the middle. Maybe that'll be breakfast. So stay tuned. Oh my goodness, as a small commercial break, I was walking past the cannas, taking the bitter melon out of the garden, and look! I was just saying that maybe the cannas would flower this year. This is the first time that the cannas are starting to flower in the garden. This is probably up to my chest, which is pretty tall. And I'm so excited to see this flower. And we'll see how it looks as it continues to open. But I wanted to do a quick little commercial break before we head into the kitchen.